Final Fantasy 16 out sooner than you think, Xbox big in Japan, and the weekly gaming news recap and cookie review coming right up. Yes, I did get my haircut. Ooh. Welcome back to Sodi Pop right here on YouTube. Today is Friday, September 25th. I'm Matty, and this is the weekly gaming news recap and cookie review. Of course, tune in for Chatty with Matty for some stories earlier in the week if you're looking for more in-depth coverage. Today's a little bit different because we do have some stories that will be continuing, so I won't be doing the normal recap at the beginning since a lot of the stories are interwoven. Just like the Xbox release, we have more to talk about, even though that did happen earlier in this week. But just like always, everything is timestamped down below, so if you're looking for any particular story, stick around and you can look there. And of course, we have an awesome cook review coming up at the end. It will be the pumpkin biscotti, a biscotto, I don't know how you say it, I'm not Italian, but made with pumpkin. So very, very excited to check those out for you. Without further ado, let's get right to it. I have my drink, let's chat. So to begin with, we have, I think, what is a huge story. I love Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 16, this coming courtesy of a Reddit poster named ButterBeansCD. I don't know how you say that, everyone has a crazy name. But Jason Schreier says Final Fantasy 16 has been in development for at least, quote, 4 years and will release sooner than people think. 4 years means it could release at any time. I mean, normal development will be maybe 3 to 5 years. So 4 years. And when I watched the PlayStation 5 reveal of the price and everything, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that looks like it's really far along. We saw a lot of gameplay, a lot of different story elements. With that being said, I don't think it looks super next gen, quote unquote, but Final Fantasy, I mean, I love me a good Final Fantasy. It doesn't even look as like good graphically as I would even say Final Fantasy 7 Remake does, but the story looks really good. It looks a lot more Western in style in many ways, and then obviously the combat, they've really refined the combat from Final Fantasy 15 through 7 Remake, and it looks like they're doing it even more in this game. So it looks really good in motion from what we saw of the combat. But let's go ahead and take a listen at what he actually said and get really excited for Final Fantasy, because I know I am. I'm gonna slip on these earmuffs, also known as cans, also known as
show, you know, headphones. We're going to, so
one of the things that's really exciting about this announcement is that the Final Fantasy 14 team has such a good track record now of like writing these incredible. So I've only gotten to Heavensward, which is the first expansion in the game, but I've already seen a huge chunk. That's like 100 hours in with like the whole main story campaign, which I beat a couple years ago, and so I've already gotten to see like the writing in this game is incredible, the character development, and there's a lot to like really sink your teeth into. And so I'm very excited to see this team take that talent to like a mainline Final Fantasy game, and just like I have faith that they'll create this world and characters that like maybe we won't remember as fondly as Final Fantasy 7, because that was a pretty special game, but like maybe it'll be up there with some of the other greats. I'm very optimistic about this game. Also, one little tidbit is that I've heard from people who know the game, who have worked on the game or are familiar with the game's development, that it's actually been in development for at least 4 years in some capacity. Wow. So it's coming sooner than people think.
Looks like a whole video game. And like in the trailer, I was impressed. I went in expecting it to be like the Final Fantasy theme and like a chocobo claw and then like coming soon or whatever.
All right. Well, so there you go. Again, coming maybe sooner than you think. He said at least 4 years, so it could be coming out next year, could be coming out the end of this year if it really is 4 years. The other thing that he said, which gets me really hyped up, this is from the same team that did Final Fantasy 14, which is the online game, and people ever since Final Fantasy 14 Realm Reborn, when they redid the game because it did so poorly, I mean, people have been super stoked on it. It's not a game that I've gotten into myself, but people have been really, really loving it. It's cool to see that he says the writing's really good, and he's really excited to see what they do for an upcoming full-on Final Fantasy 16 game. So super pumped about that, and that could be amazing. Let's move on to some Microsoft news. Microsoft, this is again recapping Microsoft 7.5 billion purchase of ZeniMax, bolsters Xbox and Game Pass. Remember, if you go ahead and look at my full thoughts on Monday about this, but just a recap of what I think about this. cool from Game Pass. It gets all of ZeniMax's libraries. Really an unknown for the future, because their last 2 games, especially from all these studios, maybe for the exception of Doom, I think id Software is in that lineup. But there's been quite a few misses. $7.5 billion is a massive purchase price. Remember, this was said to be, if you look on Wikipedia, the second largest game sale. Of course, the other one belonged to Tencent. So keep that in mind. This will bolster the first-party studios, but again, some of the bigger games are still a few years out. So I think the immediate good thing for Xbox is going to be Game Pass. Of course, if you're on PC, you can get that. If you're on Android and hopefully iOS would change their tune on this. If you're on Android, you can get Game Pass. So you really don't need an Xbox for it. It's going to be awesome to play Skyrim yet again. But again, the major positive thing will be for Game Pass in the short term, maybe 4 or 5 years down the road. But again, they have to show that they can put it up. Todd Howard and the people of ZeniMax had an awesome payday. They're probably going to stay on for quite a few years. I'm sure that's part of the contract of them actually buying it. But it remains to be seen, again, making the Xbox Game Pass brand more exclusive. And it remains to be seen, again, a game-by-game basis, whether they're going to make things actually stay on Xbox, or if it go to Nintendo or PS5. Xbox has shown the proclivity to actually put their games on other platforms. Just look at Ori and Blind Forest, or Ori and the Will of the Wisp on Nintendo Switch just recently. So keep that in mind. All right, so now we're going to get to some of Xbox's pre-orders. So that happened earlier this week. It went weirdly. So they announced it, everyone released it at the same time, but it went almost just as poorly as the PS5s. PS5s, of course, not good. Retailers all released them a day early. Hey, you don't have to wait until Sony says we're going to release them. Super surprising. People had a hard time getting them. I had a hard time getting one. I finally got one, and who knows if it will come. Until I have it in my hand, I don't trust it. Pre-orders have been canceled, so just be wary, but keep looking, because I keep on seeing pre-orders going live from Walmart, Best Buy, Target, from all the main retailers. We'll talk about later some more pre-orders going live, and even some Nintendo stuff, so about pre-orders. The same with Xbox, keep on looking. And then the pre-orders for Xbox actually bumped the Xbox One's sales rank up 750% following the Series X pre-orders. This is something, when I first started covering this, the Xbox One X, Series S, One S, those are all very confusing. It took me a while to wrap my head around it, and I do this 3 times a week. Back then I did it every single day during the week. So imagine anyone, just a normal person, I got tested from a bunch of friends. Hey, I want an Xbox, I want a PS5. Which one should I get? What does that mean? One of these could have been my friends. I said, get the Series X, get the Game Pass. You want an Xbox? What do I get? I said, do you have a 4K TV? Cool. This is what you should get. Awesome. That was the conversation. He obviously could have got a 1X. Oh, saw there's pre-orders open. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. So hopefully people are able to get the refunds. Hopefully people know what they're getting. I'm sure they'll get it, and maybe they'll wait for their kid's birthday. Maybe they'll wait until Christmas because they got the pre-order. Cool, I got it in. Gonna wrap it, hide it from my kids till Christmas. Can they return it anymore? Probably not if they're getting it from Amazon. So just be careful. Inform your friends. Didn't go well. And not very cool. Also, we saw that the SSDs were released for Seagate. As far as the prices, $220. Remember, I speculated that this stuff was around $200. There was a really wonderful article written on it. Yeah, it was going to be around $200. $220 sounds about right. They're going to be expensive. Here's the problem with Xbox's approach: is right now it's a proprietary thing. They aren't allowing any other makers. They said, yeah, sometime in the future, probably not. Maybe, but it's still going to be proprietary. They still have to make it specifically for the Xbox. It's going to stay $220 for a while. Yeah, there might be sales in the future, a year or two down the road, but it's going to stay at that $220 price point. Don't expect it to drop too much. Just look no further than Sony's own stuff. They had their PS Vita memory cards. That was a big downfall of the Vita. Still, the 64 gigabyte memory card for the PlayStation Vita is still like $100. Still ridiculous. So keep that in mind. And yes, maybe they'll will allow more makers down the line, and it will cheapen the price a little bit. But again, Sony's approach is, as long as the NVMe drives meet the specs of the Sony and they physically fit in the thing, which most of them are smaller. They don't have heat sinks on them. You can use any one you want, and that will make prices lower just because Sony's not in control of it. They're not in control of actually saying, yes, you can use our specific format and blah, blah, blah. So that is a negative. The funny thing that happened from this is that IGN printed an article that said official expandable storage drive for Xbox Series S and X is pretty expensive. Seagate retweeted this and said, we think so too. Obviously stopping at the pretty, so we think it is pretty. No, they said pretty expensive. Obviously they misunderstood that. That is freaking hilarious. And Xbox initial Series XS pre-orders have quickly sold out everywhere, especially Japan. So this coming from Andy Robinson over at VGC, Video Game Chronicle. Major Japanese retailers quickly sold out of their initial Xbox Series X and S pre-orders on Friday in what appears to have been a positive start for Microsoft's next-gen console in the region. Pre-orders for Xbox Series X and S opened at midnight Japan time, and the more expensive Series X model sold out in less than 20 minutes on Amazon Japan, and an hour later the Series S was sold out at the retailer. Major Japanese electronics chains Yoribashi and Softmap and Bic Camera have sold out of all their initial Xbox Series X and S stock within just a few hours of opening pre-orders. Likewise, Microsoft's official Japanese store has sold out of both the Series S and X. So I tried to, but I could find no numbers for how many pre-orders were actually released. Again, they weren't expecting a huge amount, so it's going to be limited. And I saw more articles about Microsoft saying how the pre-orders in general were, quote, record-breaking, but again, they refused to state any numbers, or they didn't state any numbers. You can bet if a console manufacturer or any sort of manufacturer of any good, they have serious record-breaking, insane sales, they are going to say the numbers. So there's something that doesn't smell right about that to me. You know, are they pulling Nintendo strategy, or just a strategy of releasing a little small amount each time so they do sell out, they get for sure sellouts, and then they can get those headlines of this is sold out, this is sold out. I would not be surprised as well if Sony is doing this as well. I mean, keep a line at the club. Make sure people want to get in. It's a constant thing. These things don't mean anything to me unless they have numbers attached to them. I'm annoyed that some of these articles are even written, to be honest. You can write them, but put it with the attachment of, and I think he does call it that there aren't necessarily numbers, I want to say, but it should be almost in the title of like, I'll believe it when I see the numbers. So cool, they sold out everywhere. We will see the sales numbers hopefully eventually. Remember, Microsoft stopped reporting sales numbers for the Xbox One. It's speculated to be around 400 to or 40 to 50 million, which is still good. It's still really good. So yeah, hopefully we see numbers. Also on Amazon, they announced their Luna cloud gaming service. So this is really a competitor to xCloud and then perhaps PS Now, if PS Now gets pushed more and more. Let's take a check at what it is, just a quick look. So Luna will offer, and this is coming from The Verge, just want to give credit where credit is due. The Verge, Nick Stat, we've read some few things from him before. So instead, Luna will offer individual channels for partner publishers modeled similarly to the Amazon Channels platform. So let Prime subscribers add individual TV streaming service subscriptions as add-ons, all bundled into one monthly payment managed by Amazon. These channels will be priced differently and will seemingly come with difference in perks and restrictions. Although details are slim at the moment, the service will launch sometime soon in early access for a small number of users with this 2 channels to start. What are these 2 channels? The first channel will be an Amazon branded one called Luna Plus, which sounds a bit like Stadia Pro in all it offers 4K streaming and quote unlimited hours of play. But it goes further by offering access to dozens, quote dozens of games for $5.99 a month. It's not clear what the game list will look like beyond the early slate of confirmed titles, including Resident Evil 7 and Control. Going further down, the second channel will belong to a major publisher, Ubisoft, which is offering the same perks as Luna Plus, although Ubisoft's restricting users to 1 stream per account instead of the 2 allowed at Amazon's channel, and presumably access to most, if not all, of the company's vast library. Amazon won't say the Ubisoft channel will cost, but it may be priced higher than Luna Plus, more in line with Uplay Plus at $14.99 subscription service Ubisoft introduced last year. A few things I garner from this. Number one, obviously more expensive than Game Pass. Obviously less games than Game Pass. Obviously, Game Pass in the future will have to cost more. This is in line with what publishers and game makers want from subscription services. You know, Ubisoft is getting more money. Of course, Amazon is going to be taking a cut, but they are getting more money from this, so keep that in mind. But this is more in line with what the actual cost would be. Remember, Microsoft spent $7.5 billion on ZeniMax. They are going to recoup that. They need to recoup that. And $14.99 a month in Game Pass probably won't recoup that entirely. Of course, they're onboarding people at a good price. The Game Pass for PC is just $10 a month, is really excellent. That will be raised. So keep in mind that the future of these subscription services, I don't love subscriptions in general, and we did see Microsoft actually was reverting its Microsoft Word subscription, so you can finally buy just Microsoft Word again. Why do you need subscription to Word in the first place? I don't know, but they did it for like the last 10 years. It's ridiculous. But yeah, after, like, video games are expensive. Right now we're getting a deal, but let's just say Microsoft becomes the only game in town. They crush Sony, they crush Nintendo. You don't want that to happen. I'm happy this is all happening. We're going to be seeing hopefully Sony push a little bit harder. We're going to see hopefully Nintendo maybe push a little bit harder. Probably not. Nintendo's kind of in its own lane. But competition is good, and this is just, I think, revealing more pricing. I don't like this. This is cable. I mean, it's just literally cable packages replicated in the digital ecosystem. Cable sucks. It's so incredibly expensive, but there has to be a better way for publishers to make money in a fair, reasonable way while still creating these great games. So I don't know the perfect solution, but obviously $70 is a good start for a complete game. Hopefully no or limited microtransactions entirely, and these other subscription solutions. So I think if both can coexist at the same time, and some game models might be better than others for different ones, I think it could be really good for publishers overall. So very, very interesting. In Nintendo news, we got to see that Nintendo Switch #Animal Crossing New Horizons Edition makes a return. The system features pastel green, blue, and Joy-Con controllers and a special Nintendo Switch dock. See your local retailers for more details on availability. They're returning it. It's in stock at different retailers. I have mine right up here. I love it. It's super fantastic. And this is the new Nintendo Switch. If you can't find the version 1, which is hackable and all this stuff, this new Nintendo Switch has like twice the battery life. It is fantastic. Super love mine. So just to show you, right here it is in stock. Oh, sold out now. This was literally 30 minutes ago it sold out. So, or 10 minutes ago it sold out because it was just in stock. But go ahead. I've seen people posting pictures at Target stuff that they're physically in stock. Of course, people are going to buy these up. They're probably still somewhat limited, so keep that in mind. But go ahead and look at your local retailer. I'm sure scalpers aren't looking for this since they're hot on the heels of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. This might slip underneath the radar, so hopefully you can get one if you want one. And we saw an update to Animal Crossing. Speaking of Nintendo Animal Crossing, they are getting an awesome Halloween update. I'm going to go ahead and play this for you guys. But here's what we are getting. Going to start September 30th. It's going to be their fun Halloween update. You can buy candy at the store, grow pumpkins for DIY recipes, which look fantastic. Halloween will, on the Halloween night from 5 p.m. to midnight, so October 31st, there'll be like a Halloween party. You can give out candy, see costumes. Jack, the Czar of Halloween, will be there for the Halloween party. We don't really know. They kind of keep on hinting and other things. I'm sure there's going to be gameplay features that he has. There's a new haunt reaction, and then they teased in Christmas and Thanksgiving updates. I'm not sure if maybe they're just calling it a winter update, but they had like a turkey for Thanksgiving and it looked like a Santa Claus or something for Christmas. So I'm not sure what they're going to be calling those. Probably maybe a general fall and winter updates. So super excited. Halloween is a huge favorite of mine. Of course, we got all the pumpkin biscottis and stuff. So very, very pumped. Go ahead and check that out. Let me know what you think below of the Halloween update. Are you excited for it? And I also want to know what you think of all the news before the Final Fantasy and the Xbox stuff. And we also got a Capcom Tokyo Game Show today. They revealed these new amiibo for Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter Rise looks fantastic. And one more story they did, I watched it. It was really good. One more thing that they hinted at is that they are trying to bring Resident Evil 8, yes, Resident Evil Village, to current generation Xbox One and PS4. So they already announced, yes, it's going to come on the PC and next gen systems, but we're going to try and bring it to current gen systems. Remember, we got that weird story that it was having trouble running on the PS5 and it was kind of debunked. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what the ultimate truth in that was, but they are trying to bring it to the current systems. Maybe they'll have trouble, but it looks really fantastic. Obviously, we already got that a similar engine in RE7 on the current system, so maybe they can make it happen. I'm sure they will, because the current systems, PlayStation has over 100 million sold. Xbox has anywhere from 40-50 million sold. If they can get it on just a small portion of the systems, they are going to try. And a little break in the news, because we gotta subscribe, gotta like, we gotta follow. Every little bit helps me. I also want to know what you think about all these stories below. I want to talk about it. What do you think about Final Fantasy 16? What do you think about the Xbox pre-orders and what's going on with their memory cards? All very, very interesting to me. Want to know what you think below. And are you excited for the cookie review? I am. Let's get right back to it with some positive news. Jeff Keighley is hosting again the Game Awards. They are introducing a new award for innovation in accessibility, recognizing developers that are pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. This is awesome, a step in the right direction. If you've not played The Last of Us Part 2, they have amazing accessibility options. I'm fortunate enough to not have to make use of most of them, but very, very cool indeed. Very happy for that. On a downer note, and we'll go back up, don't worry. This is a report coming from Kotaku. Ethan Gatch report: Beyond Good and Evil 2 director Michel Ancel left Ubisoft amid investigations into complaints of toxic leadership. I reported that he left last week. That he left kind of all of a sudden, 30 years of game experience, he's going to go focus on nature or what have you, kind of out of the blue. Now this is starting to make more sense. We're going to see what some of the complaints were, and then Michel Ancel actually had a response. So, Yves Guillemot commented back in July that any allegation will be investigated and no one will be outside of that process, and this would include Michel Ancel. And as Michel confirmed to the journalist at Liberation, he is under investigation. The investigation is still ongoing, and we have nothing further to share as we respect the confidentiality of this investigation. The Liberation report, which details the development hell game has been in for 7 years, shares accounts by Ubisoft employees who accuse Ancel of being so difficult to work with that other managers were eventually brought in to limit the number of people who had to interact with him. They also blame Ancel's management of the project, which reportedly included constant changes in scope and reworks, for an unusual amount of exhaustion, depression, and burnout experienced by the members of his team. Quote, he is capable of explaining to you that you're a genius, that your idea is wonderful, and then dismantle you in a meeting, saying that you are nothing but I won't say it because family friendly. That your work is worth nothing and not speak to you for a month, one source told the newspaper. In an interview with Liberation, Ancel said he is unaware that people felt this way and only seemed to acknowledge that the general difficulties associated with making an ambitious big-budget game had taken its toll on Ubisoft Montpellier, where Beyond Good and Evil 2 is being developed. Quote, the suffering is from both sides, yes, it's hard, and there are people who are sad, Ancel told Liberation, based on translation by Kotaku. Ancel says he was informed of the investigation into his behavior directly by Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot in early August. They go on to describe a little bit more of that and really the situation behind it. We already know the things going on at Ubisoft, and really this is his latest response to the allegations, just as we previously read with how we can make people feel horrible. Ancel said on Instagram, "Take a few people with rage and jealousy and let them speak in the name of hundreds. Publish the news fast so it combines with sexual harassment from other news at Ubisoft. Is this serious? Is this what you expect from a national newspaper? I will fight truth because such accusations are a shame. I worked hard in every of my projects and always have respect for the teams. The accusations are wrong." So we're getting some stories from both. Maybe it's people that are just really upset, saying things about him. I have no further information to go on. He's been working in this industry for 30 years, so eventually I can imagine it will come out on other projects he's been on if he is this type of person. Obviously, 7 years development hell doesn't mean he was a mean person, but it could be frustrating to see your project drag on for that long, and maybe you think, oh, he wasn't a good boss, he didn't make the right decisions. That's different from treating people horribly. If on the other hand he did, then maybe it's best that he left. Who knows? This is just putting a little more context to exactly, seems that he may have left because the investigation, and maybe he felt he was wrong, to be honest. So very interesting. I'm curious. Ubisoft has been cleaning house lately of all these really big abuses. I'm glad that that is happening. I mean, it has no place in any industry. We live in a society where horribleness and violence and all that stuff doesn't need to exist. You can communicate with your words and solve things amicably. All right. 4. The Verge PS5 will be available for pre-order today at GameStop, thanks to Taylor Lyles. This is as exactly as it sounds. I've seen Walmart, I've seen Target. I've been trying to retweet as much as I can when things are available. I know on the 22nd, Walmart said they're going to have more available. So keep in mind, if you keep on checking, maybe go to an online price tracker or tracker of things going back on sale. You should be able to get one by launch date. I have faith in you. And I think either one is fine. I got the disc version and hopefully mine comes. But I think you should be able to get a PS5. That also goes for the Series X as well. And former Rockstar North Boss raises $42 million for his GTA rival. So this is really interesting. This is one of the main 3 guys, Leslie Benzies. There's a whole thing with him. 4 or 5 years ago when he left Rockstar, he wanted a sabbatical. He came back and they tried to push him out of the company. At least that's what he said. Apparently, they would call him in as kind of the fixer. He was a big guy at Rockstar. So this is a huge thing. Let's read into what he's trying to make and what it all means. So this again coming from VGC. The year prior, he announced the formation of Build a Rocket Boy, an Edinburgh and Budapest-based game studio, which had already hired more than 130 people, including GTA developers, including GTA 5 programmer Colin and Witzel, lead cinematics animator Philippe Bequest, music director Craig Connor, and audio director Matthew Smith. Build a Rocket Boy's first game is an open-world title, Everywhere, which Benzies told VentureBeat in 2017 would be unlike anything he's done before. Quote, "Everywhere has lots of traditional game mechanics, but we are going for something more than that draws inspiration from, well, everywhere," Benzies said. Players who are getting smarter require more from their games, and we want players to have real freedom to live in the worlds in the way they want to. We're aiming to offer a huge variety of game modes and styles and not only tell our stories, but also enable players to live in the identities and adventures they most want to explore. At the time, Benzies said his team would use Amazon's Lumberyard game engine to make Everywhere. This is really exciting. I mean, more GTA. There's really no games that come on the scale of Grand Theft Auto, so it's cool to see these studios being formed. Again, there's another former Grand Theft Auto maker that I reported maybe a month ago that had shop in LA, so they're actually making a game studio in LA, and Tencent invested in them. So there's a lot of cool stuff that we could be seeing in the coming years. Again, this in 2017 was that big interview, so maybe his game could still be 3-4 years off. They got more money for it. That's amazing. So very, very excited for that. Games Radar Oh my gosh, I'm so pumped for this. The original Metal Gear Solid, I almost forgot this was in the news. The original Metal Gear Solid is reportedly getting PS5 exclusive remake. So this was reported a few days ago. Something I would have talked about on Wednesday. I did get a new position, so I'm going to be a little bit busy while I'm fully catching up to speed. But I will be reporting the news as much as possible. The important part of the story coming from Games Radar. Kieran Cryer. The original Metal Gear Solid is reportedly getting a full remake, and it's a PS5 console exclusive. The new claim comes from YouTube channel Red Gaming Tech, a channel that typically specializes in gaming hardware. According to the channel's source, the original Metal Gear Solid will be getting a full remake, not just remaster, and it will eventually it'll be console exclusive to PS5 as well as coming to PC. What's more, Red Gaming Tech source claims Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and 4 will all be getting HD remasters. The sequels won't be getting the same remake treatment afforded to the original game, and it's unknown whether these remasters will be console exclusive to the PS5 as well. So just a little bit more information around this out. Again, we've been getting a lot of rumors of Silent Hill almost being a shoo-in. So is Konami kind of jumping back in? Well, we've seen some nice hints that Konami cares about video games because we saw the Castlevania collections released, and they actually did a really good job on the Castlevania collections. This is amazing. I love Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3. Peace Walker was amazing. 4. I have yet to really fully jump into 5. Really some of my favorite games ever. Metal Gear Solid 1 was from an era kind of like they did with Resident Evil, where it's like top down semi 3D controls, a little bit almost tank controls. You hold and you let go of the trigger. So it'd be cool if they did do a full remake. It is such a wonderful game, a wonderful story, one of my favorite in this series. I mean, they all have kind of a cool story in many ways. Just depends, I guess, on whose storyline you prefer. But that would be phenomenal. I mean, for me, this is huge news. Again, let me know what you think below. And also, Red Gaming Tech's source, he said on the channel, I'm not going to play it here, but he said on the channel, this source has 100% accuracy. I don't know Red Gaming Tech. I don't know the source, but apparently everything he's heard from him before has been 100% true always. So take that with a grain of salt, but this is something I am incredibly hyped for. If this was a PS5 exclusive, oh man, I mean, PS5 is, I mean, they already have some amazing exclusives, and this would just be Demon's Souls 2. Oh man, super excited. Mass Effect Legendary Edition is still coming, but not this year. This coming from Jeffrey Grubb over at Venture Beat. This is something talked about on Monday, and I'm very excited to know that EA heard me. So let's jump into it. EA hasn't revealed Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and that's for a good reason. The publisher originally planned to launch the remastered trilogy that I first reported back in May with the October reveal and release, but now EA has developer BioWare are pushing the release to early 2021, according to people familiar with the development. The primary factor holding up the development beyond the pandemic is the original Mass Effect game. It currently does not live up to the quality of the rest of the package. It would make a poor first impression for new players, and it might disappoint fans who won't go on to play and experience the impressive upgrades for Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. Remember on Monday, this is exactly what I said. I'm like, I want the package, but they need to do something to Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 1 maybe has the best story, but gameplay, it is so far from what they did in Mass Effect 2. It feels so different, and also the graphics are so far. So I'm so glad this is a big focus. That is awesome. Take as much time as you need. If you can get, I mean, that would essentially make it a new game. Even if you played Mass Effect 1 a ton, just like Metal Gear Solid 1, making it a new game, giving it the Final Fantasy VII Remake treatment. Of course, I don't expect that. That was obviously huge, but oh man, that would be so cool. EA doesn't plan, another news, EA doesn't plan to include Mass Effect 3 multiplayer in this package, and the Mass Effect Legendary Edition will, however, include the downloadable content for all 3 Mass Effect games. This will enable players to experience the full included in the purchase price. So no multiplayer, which was like wave-based multiplayer, lots of fun, but they will get all the DLC. And you know, when they're talking about upgrading, just a quick thing, they talk about both visuals and gameplay, which I just said. So super excited. Again, this is 2 in particular, 1 phenomenal games. One could be the best in the package if they upgrade it, give it a lot of nice visual touches and make the gameplay tight and feel like at least 2 or 3, or even Andromeda. I've heard good things about Andromeda's combat feel as well. Moving to some PlayStation news, The Last of Us Day 2020 preview. So this is coming tomorrow, The Last of Us Day. They're doing a whole bunch of stuff for The Last of Us Day. So Last of Us Part 2 original soundtrack, vinyl limited edition posters. Go on Mondo.com. Mondo makes some amazing limited edition stuff. That will be available tomorrow. A Last of Us board game will be coming. So very interesting. Last of Us Abby cosplay guide. Girls get ripped. That's all I gotta say. New Last of Us and Last of Us 2 premium statues. You can see here. Oh, that's cool. I like that one with Joel. That's really cool. I like that. And then a background for The Last of Us, a beach theme background. So go ahead and check that out. Just tons of merch. Again, a lot of this stuff coming tomorrow. So go ahead and check it out if you are a big fan of The Last of Us or Last of Us Part 2. And then Spider-Man on PS4 players can't upgrade to PS5 for free. Just a little note. So I'm going to walk you through exactly what this means. It's like good and bad. It was somewhat expected for me though. So Julia Lee, a Sony representative, originally told Kotaku, quote, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered is an enhanced version of Marvel's Spider-Man. It included as part of the Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition for the PlayStation 5. In addition, players who purchase Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales on PS4 can upgrade at no additional cost to the PS5 version of Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales and can take advantage of the paid upgrade to download Marvel Spider-Man Remastered. Players with a copy of Marvel Spider-Man PS4 can purchase Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition to experience Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered on PS5. The rep continued. Marvel's Spider-Man for PS4 will be backwards compatible to the PS5. Okay, that all sounds really confusing. Simply put, if you have the PlayStation 4 version of Marvel's Spider-Man, you can play it on the PS5. It's not going to be visually upgraded or anything. Yeah, I'm sure it will take advantage of the SSD. It will look a little bit prettier. Maybe frames per second will be better. I don't know. We'll see when Digital Foundry tests it out, right? If you buy Miles Morales on the PS4, you can play it on the PS5 and it'll look upgraded and everything, take advantage fully of the PS5. If you buy, again, Miles Morales on the PS4 and you play it on the PS5, well, pay an extra $20 and you can get the edition that comes with the remastered version of the old Spider-Man game, the original Spider-Man game. And if you buy it on the PS5, you can get Miles Morales for $50 or for $70, get the package that comes with the remastered game. It's a little bit confusing. Again, a fully remastered game, I don't expect fully updates, but it is backwards compatible. It plays, it's going to upgrade it. We'll see when this all comes out, if this is a big deal or not. I'm sure there'll be some upgrades, but again, it sounds like they are putting a lot of work into the remastered version. They're putting whole new assets, details. I'm very curious to what it will finally look like and the big difference. If there's a big enough difference, okay, paid $20 extra to get it with Miles Morales. So I wish there was a way, if you already have the game in the previous system, pay $10, $20 and just upgrade that game. That'd be really nice too. But so far, there's no separate way to do it. All right, guys, well, that about does it for the gaming news portion. We're going to head into the cooking review. So if you are not going to watch the cooking review, have a wonderful weekend. I'm sure you deserve that. I will be back next week. I love you lots. And let's jump right into the cooking review because I'm pumped. Man, the pumpkin biscotti from Trader Joe's. Remember, we've covered their almond biscotti. This is going to be the same type of cookie. I was hand over heels in love with almond biscotti. Really, really enjoyed it. Of course, ate the whole package. Just an interesting thing of note, really doesn't matter, but the serving size is 2 pieces instead of 3, so very interesting. All right, we're gonna jump into pumpkin biscotti. One thing I noticed as soon as I opened this up to put the cookies on the plate here is just like pumpkin pie smell. I've talked about how pumpkin stuff, just like the pumpkin JoJo's, which are fantastic by the way, pumpkin pie stuff can really range. It can be really cinnamony, really sweet. It can be really almost clove. And what's the other spice? I'm just gonna say clove, but more of a like a sharper type of cinnamon kind of, so it's like a little bit harder. These like pure pumpkin pie, pure fresh baked pumpkin pie when they come out, smell really good. Let's do, the smell is awesome. I just might leave these out as potpourri, I don't know. Now let's go ahead and do the density test as always. Nice and crumbly like we expect a biscotti or biscotto. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm saying it incorrectly. Do the taste test, of course. Nom nom nom. Yeah, these are awesome. 2 wins for Trader Joe's pumpkin stuff. They're pumpkin JoJo's and these. Can't go wrong. Again, you're going to have to want this style cookie, of course. And biscottis go perfectly with coffee. Go perfectly with anything. I'm going to take some water. The flavor, again, that pumpkin pie smell translate very accurately into the flavor of the biscotti. Hard texture. Going to go well with your hot chocolate. Oh man, ooh, that with hot chocolate and a little bit of pumpkin. That'd be really good. Highly recommend. You should get these pumpkin biscottis. Alright guys, well that does it for this week's weekly gaming news recap and cookie review. It was awesome. There's so much to talk about, so much that happened. Again, let me know down below what you think about Xbox pre-orders. You got that Spider-Man stuff. Is that important to you? We got Jason Schreier talking about Final Fantasy 16. It might come out soon. Man, if that comes out soon. Oh. Also, you have Metal Gear. Man, such amazing stuff. Gaming's so cool. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was a pleasure. I can't wait to see you next week. Remember, follow me on the 3Ts and IG, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram at SodiPopMedia right here up in the corner. Have a phenomenal weekend. I'm Matty. Remember,
be yourself
and eat a cookie. Bye.